Kennedy Center Honors, presented to those who've made a difference on stage, screen, and through other performing arts. But you may not know who came up with the idea for both awards shows. It's kind of dazzling, just the wall of Emmys. Television and film writer, director, and producer, George Stevens, Jr.
It's an opportunity for audiences to see wonderful lives of achievement. And I think it moves them, and I think it inspires them.
So there was a nice turnabout when Stevens himself got a very big award in December, presented by his friend, actor Sidney Poitier, an honorary Oscar for Lifetime Achievement.
Tonight I say, here's to the great films of the future.
And it turns out Stevens' life is a real Hollywood story. His grandmother, Alice Howell, acted in Charlie Chaplin films. And his mother appeared in silent movies too. But most important, his dad, George Stevens Sr., was a legendary Hollywood director who made more than 50 films between 1930 and 1970.
This is From a Place in the Sun. That's my father on the right, and Elizabeth Taylor next to him, and Montgomery Clift behind Elizabeth.
Wow. A Place in the Sun earned George Stevens Sr. a Best Director Oscar.
Are they watching? I love you too.
And when Elizabeth Taylor turned 18 during the making of the film, young George was invited to her birthday party. What was she like?
I think she was, without question, the most beautiful woman in the world. And great fun and lighthearted.
And, of course, she went on to win a Kennedy Center honor.
She did, yes.
Stevens took a summer job with his dad, reading scripts and stories for prospective films. One of them really moved him.
He said, well, why don't you tell me the story? So I was pacing around his bedroom, telling him the story of Shane.
The 1953 film, a Western starring Alan Ladd, got 5 Academy Award nominations and has become a classic.
Gosh almighty, that is good!
By then, George Stevens Jr. was working full-time with his father on films like 1959's The Diary of Anne Frank.
No.
But there's nobody down there now.
Doesn't matter. I don't ever want you to go beyond that door.
Ever?
But in 1962, he got a visit from Edward R. Murrow.
Here in Jefferson County, we are waiting for the polls to close.
The former CBS newsman had joined the Kennedy administration as head of the United States Information Agency, charged with telling the rest of the world about the USA. Murrow wanted Stevens to run the film division. Your first instinct was to say no.
It was, and I did. I had become, after The Diary of Anne Frank, like my father's partner, and a few days later I was with Dad at the studio, and he looked at me and he said, you have to do it.
So Stevens came to Washington, and at age 29, started producing some 300 short documentary films a year for USIA.
This was the first wall in all recorded history to keep an entire country from fleeing.
When they hate us, we're going to absorb their hatred in love. When they speak against us, we're going to speak things of love toward them.
He became friends with members of the Kennedy family and got to know the president.
It's a time filled with possibility, and it was thrilling to be part of it.
When President Kennedy was assassinated, Stevens poured his sorrow into producing a highly praised documentary film, Years of Lightning, Day of Drums.
In seeing that respected man who had everything pass from life in a single unsuspecting instant, there was the thought of each person's own mortality.
Stevens left government to help found the American Film Institute, which promotes this nation's film legacy and helps train future filmmakers. with alumni earning more than 100 Oscar nominations.
This is from a speech he made at Amherst College.
As for the Kennedy Center honors, Stephen says the idea came from the president's own words.
I look forward to an America that will honor achievement in the arts, the way we honor achievement in business and statecraft. On the first night, Harold Lloyd.
At age 80, Stevens, who's been married to his wife Elizabeth for 47 years, has managed to become a force in both Hollywood and Washington. But he jokes that he had to forge a career that was different from his famous father's.
There's the issue of how do you establish yourself and your own identity. But I didn't suffer about it.
But now George Stevens Jr. has his own Oscar to display, along with two won by his father. What do you think your dad would make of that?
Oh, I think he'd be pleased that his Oscars have company.
David Edelstein's Oscar picks are coming up.
I've seen incredible things, otherworldly things, but there are some things I've never seen before. This GE jet engine can understand 5,000 data samples per second, which is good for business, because planes use less fuel, spend less time on the ground, and more time in the air. Suddenly, faraway places don't seem so far away.